Well, Thursday was pretty much Christmas in June for conservatives. The Supreme Court ruled against racism in college admissions process known as affirmative action. But what does that mean? Well, besides the fact that students will only get admitted based on their merit, noble concept, it means that we're going to actually start hearing a lot more from these whining liberals on the left. Look at an AOC example.
The courts, if they were to proceed without any check on their power, without any balance on their power, then we will start to see an undemocratic and frankly dangerous authoritarian expansion of power in the Supreme Court. They themselves have been destroying the legitimacy of the court, which is profoundly dangerous for our entire democracy.
This woman is the worst. She is so bad. You know what the most ironic thing is? Most Americans actually approve of this decision. She's citing that, public opinion don't support the Supreme Court. One, the Supreme Court is not supposed to be affected by public opinion. And two, most people support it anyway. So her argument on both sides is ridiculous. It says, quote, a little more than half of Americans, 52%, approve of the U.S. Supreme Court decision on restricting the use of race as a factor in college admissions. She literally has no basis to her claims, but just goes on TV and says it anyway. For more on this, I'd like to bring in Mike Davis, founder and president of Article 3 Project and former law clerk to Justice Neil Gorsuch, along with Randy Zellin, criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor and adjunct law professor at Cornell University. The big title for both of you guys. I appreciate you being here. All right, so Mike, go to you first on this one. The Supreme Court is not supposed to be affected by public polling, legislative oversight. They're supposed to rule on the rule of law, no?
Yeah, that's exactly right. They have lifetime tenure, they have pay protection, and their job is to protect minority rights from government overreach and mob rule. And that's exactly what the Supreme Court did here. Why should wealthy, connected black kids like Barack and Michelle Obama's kids or Ketanji Brown Jackson's kids steal golden opportunities, golden tickets into Harvard Law School over more qualified, less connected Asian kids? The Supreme Court has finally put an end to this racial discrimination called affirmative action.
Yeah, it seems, Randy, the people on the left, we've seen the tweets that are just flat out racist, that just say that, they'll never be able to succeed. But if you work in an environment like that, if you're pushing one person up based on the color of their skin, ipso facto, aren't you pushing another person down based on the same factor?
Well, there's no question there's a zero-sum game. Anytime there is a limited amount of seats, it's like the game of musical chairs. Once the music stops, if the seats are filled, you're out of luck. But I think that the bigger problem at hand right now is, again, it's the AOCs of the world, and it's really on both sides. The rhetoric, this race to the bottom of these just hatred-filled, just venom-filled diatribes, when if you stop and take a breath, all the Supreme Court said was, listen, the color of your skin is a factor, and it can be a factor along with everything else. It just can't be the factor. And who really would want to do anything in life based solely on the color of their skin? So all of this nonsense about affirmative action is dead and discrimination, no. Put it in your essay. Talk about what it's like to be black and the circumstances that you grow up in.
Right.
You just can't check off the box and get in because you're black.
Exactly.
Or any color for that matter.
Well, what's funny, too, is that all these liberals now are saying, like Joy Reid says she got into college on affirmative action. It's like, wow, you've confirmed what we all are thinking, that you actually didn't deserve a spot there. But, speaking of spots, Mike, Boston University school, the law students, of all people, law students are urged to seek therapy in response to Supreme Court rulings. These are people who will be arguing the merits of cases in a court of law, potentially in front of the Supreme Court one day, and they need therapy?
They actually need lobotomies. That would be more appropriate for them. And I would say this, these liberals who pretend they care about racial discrimination, why don't these Democrats support educational opportunities in school choice for poor black kids in kindergarten instead of for the elite black kids in law school?
Yeah. Well, I just talked about Joy Reid, obviously, Randy, but this is the best gem. Listen to what she said.
I got into Harvard only because of affirmative action. I was pulled in, and the schools like Harvard and Yale that I got into affirmatively. Yeah. I had never had anyone question whether I was intelligent until I got to Harvard. You feel completely out of place, and people keep telling you shouldn't be here.
I mean, she kind of like doesn't really make a great case for herself that she actually deserved to be there, Randy.
Well, I'm almost stunned because, look, it is one thing to get in because otherwise you wouldn't have that opportunity. And affirmative action did put young people who otherwise wouldn't have even been up for consideration and maybe deservedly should have been there, but couldn't get there because of circumstances. And affirmative action gave that push in. But then it was up to them to prove that he or she belonged. So I don't really get what I just heard. I would not brag about the fact that you got in and apparently you yourself didn't think you deserved to be there and didn't deserve to get out of there. That's probably something you want to tell your therapist and keep that to yourself. Yeah,
exactly. But Mike, we're going into a world now where, words can be violence. Everybody gets a trophy. And if you don't like the laws, they're offensive. And therefore, Black Lives Matter shouldn't have to file an I-9 on their reportings, regardless of everybody else having to do it. Why should we allow this to slip in this society?
It's racial discrimination pushed by the Marxist left. It's about division. It's about chaos. That's what the Marxist left lives on. And I would say this about Joy Reid. There is nothing illegal about schools going to non-traditional neighborhoods and getting Black kids or other kids to apply to their school. What is illegal is giving Black kids a spot over Asian kids when the Asian kids are more qualified. Yeah. There's no problem with searching non-traditional neighborhoods, but maybe they should not search in Barack Obama's family or Ketanji Brown Jackson's family. They should actually go to underserved neighborhoods.
Yeah, or like you guys just said, maybe provide programs in those neighborhoods that actually do things like charter schools. But what do I know? Randy, Mike, I hope you have a happy 4th. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
All right. Well, coming up, our